So with this week's episode of Blue Lock, I think the best way you can sum it up is Team Z, they woke the hell up. Like, they went from literally getting creamed. It was 3-0 before like 5 minutes were up in this episode. It was a complete massacre. It was a complete annihilation. And it had me saying, how in the hell? Because they have to win, right? I mean, for the other team, they can lose and they'll be okay just because they've won every other match. Eventually, there's going to come a point where either they lose or the team gets broken apart and the whole Nagi seemingly having no interest to play soccer will have to probably either find a passion to do so or get eliminated. That will be interesting, as I mentioned last week, but Team Z has to win, otherwise the show feels like it'd be over. It just doesn't feel like one of the shows where Isagi gets eliminated 10 episodes in and then therefore we just switch perspectives. It could go that direction, but it feels highly unlikely. So for them to go from potentially with the way the match was going, they were going to be at 10-0 before we got to halftime, and to see how beast mode Bachira came out to then get the first goal, and then to see two others, including Chigiri, come in to tie it by the end. They really were making me feel as if Isagi, who's had these moments of brilliance and definitely is one of the weaker players as a whole, but as I keep saying, has some of the best potential. I was like, oh, the episode's going to end with him getting the tie goal, and then we'll come into next week and we'll see how we end up. But instead, they leave him still not doing anything that useful, but we're building the momentum to see him do some great things, and I really hope to see him get at least one goal, because there's only two ways I see this match ending. Either A, we get a 4-3 win for Team Z, or it's going to be a 5-4 win. Like, those are my two feelings right now, but obviously only time will tell. Now, full live reaction is available on the Patreon if you're interested, of course, but this episode's great because rather than it just being like one character really being the dominating force, I mean, you look at the opposing team, there's 3 talented members that all can do some crazy things. One of the members basically stops all of your attacks and then proceeds to pass it to Nagi, who basically comes up with on-the-fly moves that basically make you look like your babies. Another man seemingly is actually faster than Chigiri, which when that was said, I was like, nah, you're just screwing with me. But I love how it then comes into play at the end of the episode where, yes, in terms of short distances, he can outrun Chigiri. But as Chigiri proves at the end, if it's a more long-distance sprint, he definitely becomes, because he has more stamina, and then he can outpace him. So it's kind of crazy to see how instead of just giving it like one person their kind of like breakthrough monster moment, kind of Bachira opens up the door of wildness, and then after that all bets are off. Everyone starts doing some crazy things. And kind of like instead of doing what's been happening up to this point with how they've kind of been winning just by the skin of their teeth, instead what's happening is they're having to learn how to go outside their comfort zone and adapt on the fly. Like they're basically calling it formulas, right? Trying to rely on the thing that they've always done, and when that doesn't work, they break down and the team almost falls apart to the point where they got 3 goals in without even trying. So then to see how they're all going outside their comfort zone, and to see how Isagi couldn't do that, and he's realizing his mistakes, and the monster's there, but it just quite hasn't worked out just yet. I think Isagi, the reason he has the most potential, despite being one of the weakest players in any given moment, not to say he doesn't have these moments of holy shit, he could be the best. That's what I'm talking about. But the issue is he can't control when that happens, and there's a lot of self-doubt, and there's a lot of inefficiencies, as even Nagi calls him out on. And the fact that those insults actually power him up to kind of self-reflect to improve. I think with the way he can analyze the field, once he masters that, and once he can start adapting on the fly a lot sooner, that's when he starts becoming one of the best players and one of the potential candidates to win Blue Lock. As it stands, there's definitely other players who are way better, and as Nagi says, like, if I had your talent, I would have quit. I mean, this dude's been playing soccer for like 6 months and look at where he's at. There's just some people naturally born, but there's also other people who can be taught that talent over time, and depending if the team works well and, you know, he gets his moments, it's very possible Team Z could all become candidates to be the best. But I like how this episode gave some characters like Bachira, who's been more of the support recently, especially for Isagi. He was the first one to kickstart saying, like, why is everyone freaking out? Like, if I'm gonna go out, I want to go out on some crazy shit. And Demon Time mode just kicked in for everyone, it felt like. And just to see once that one goal happens in very realistic fashion, it changes the mood, it changes the morale, and just the momentum keeps going. Though to say, when it got to halftime, the team definitely kind of countered Team Z quite hard because they realized what they were doing. But it was crazy to see the number of times like someone almost gets a goal. Like I forget what it's the exact phrase. It was something like scorpion tail, with how he like folds his legs over his head. I thought that was going to be a goal, but then it gets saved. There's just a lot of really cool things. But I think out of everything I saw in this episode, because the way he was spinning the ball around, it was like a roulette wheel. Like, that's basically how it looked. And the way you could do that almost slow-mo effect to really get across why people were disoriented and why they couldn't keep track of where he was going at any moment. And the fact that his goal was like, Bachira's goal was literally just like a little nice little arc. It wasn't like it was speed, it wasn't like it was momentum, but it was just, it was out of reach and just no one could do anything, and it was really cool to see. The best thing that Blue Lock has going for it is it literally makes every character seem like a badass, or can seem like a badass, and when characters seem weak or pathetic, or they're kind of like in that self-loathing, self-hatred mindset, they either get called out by the enemy team, or the opposing team I should say, or they get called out by themselves or even their allies. And there's always these like hostile butting head moments. Hell, there's a yellow card in this episode because my fool gets like basically karate chopped in the throat. There is a lot of tension, but I love how when you focus on Jinpachi, man, like these are the matches that he waits for. That's why he's so like disgusted by the one dude who basically, you know, Quan, just complete snake, just sitting smiling knowing his team's about to get eliminated, but he'll progress to the next round. Because here's the thing, the way the true strikers are going to come out from the shadows is when they're put into situations where they have to evolve on the fly. They can't just rely on their signature move and call it a day, because that can be countered. So how do you then evolve on the fly? We're seeing that with Nagi. He just pulls shit from thin air. And the way someone like Bachira basically did that elastic band move where it looked like he was passing it to the side, but then he switched the direction. That's the type of stuff that a character like Jinpachi is focusing in on, and why a character like Bachira is going to jump so high once this match is over, because his basically contributions to this match are almost second to none, right? The fact that multiple characters are getting the spotlight, both on the opposing team and our team, it's really great, and the production is holding strong. I still can't get over the blend of like mocap, 3D, hand-drawn, these special effects to craft the Blue Lock experience, but this is an anime adaptation done right. Visuals, sound effects, voice actors, and just the fact that the matches, they don't feel like a copy and paste of the prior one. Like everything feels different, like it's evolving. And the way these characters are snapping and unleashing the beast, it just brings a grin to your face, and you just feel the egos of all of them. Of course, though, I'll pass the torch over to everyone. What did you think of this episode? I mean, I was very happy myself that it wasn't resolved all in this episode, and I mean, I figure next week should probably resolve it just based on how this episode went, but I think they're taking their time in the right ways to let characters break down, have their excellence moments, and I'm just really proud of Chigiri because, like I mentioned when initially that character arc kicked off, I mean, I wasn't expecting much from the character, but definitely has grown to be one of the most impressive both as a character but also a player that we've seen. But thoughts and feelings yourself down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here. Like I mentioned, there is a full live reaction available on the Patreon, and you can also get video shoutouts like a few are about to get here. So we got the MC Avenger, Matthew Stibbins, and Ziz Zaz Zuz. Gotta love some of the names here, but thanks so much, take care everyone, and have a good one.